Not for the hospital. Not for a surgery. It's not $8. So, again, that kind of goes back to, you can pay for it one way or the other.
That's true.
Okay. So, bulky foods, high in fiber, said it a little earlier, 35% is where you want to be. Psyllium, oat fiber, sprouted seeds, nuts, cyprium. Those things travel, it travels faster through the bowel because they provide the substances that's needed for the bowel muscle to work well. It's a peristaltic action. It's a squeezing action. And, this moves on through there. It's soft. It adds bulk to the stools so that it helps to clean the colon out. And then, back to when we neglect the urge to eliminate, we make the bowel lazy. And we cause constipation with that. So, it's very, very important to keep that fiber content up. And, I kind of want to go through a little bit here on the accessory glands of digestion, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder. So, the pancreas it lies behind the stomach, actually, is where it's at. And the head area of the pancreas is attached to the duodenum. So its body extending across the abdominal wall, and it is where, it's horizontal with, and then the end of the pancreas is the tail of the pancreas, and that actually, as it lays horizontally, the head is closest to the duodenum, and then the tail part of it goes to the left and goes up to the it touches actually the spleen. So malfunctioning problems with the pancreas. A lot of times people will have an extreme, if you have like pancreatitis, or even pancreatic cancer. One of the signs of it is severe back pain that just does not go away no matter what you do, unless you've got a big gun to knock you out pain drug. Okay, and that doesn't even take the pain totally away. It takes the edge.
Yeah.
It takes the edge off. The pressure and the pain is the pressure is really still there. So itises, remember, all itises are inflammation.
Right. So
curcumin. I've talked about that before. Curcumin, and God, just turn on the computer and there's just things coming up all the time with turmeric, and that active property of that is the curcumin in the turmeric, and that is where it's a very strong anti-inflammatory. They're also talking about how it also slows down and is able do repairing from a dementia, Alzheimer's standpoint. So Parkinson's disease as well. So there's a lot of things that curcumin is. That there's some research that's coming out on it. It's kind of like coconut oil. That's another one. And then you can get it at the store. The coconut oil. It's so easy. I pretty much use coconut oil, and the majority, probably 75-80% coconut oil in my home, and then virgin olive oil is all that I use. So the the other thing with pancreatitis, a lot of people have acid indigestion. They have chronic discomfort, nausea, pain, lots of gas. Stools are, they can be bulky, but they can also be really pale. So that reflects also, the poor digestion. The best thing to take care of the pancreas is a juicing diet. The best way to take care of any organ that's struggling, that's sick, that's not functioning at the capacity that it should be functioning at, is juicing. It really is juicing. Take the stress off of the digestive tract, and just like if the pancreas is involved in the digestive process of releasing a lot of enzymes, specific enzymes, into the stomach area of the fundus area and the body area of the stomach. The top part of the stomach is where all the natural occurring enzymes that are in your food from your juicing or your raw food, that takes place up in that top part of the stomach because of it takes place in that area because it has everything that it needs to digest itself. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Raw food, juicing, the raw enzymes, those natural occurring enzymes are present. So they aid their own digestion. Okay. Another thing with the digestive organs is the pancreas also helps with the releasing of insulin, which is a hormone.
Right.
The adrenal glands. If you have too much sugar in your diet, if you're running all these simple carbohydrates through the digestive tract, white sugar. I've mentioned that before. A friend of mine, her husband retired from a sugar beet factory where they made sugar. 2,000 degrees. What survives and lives in 2,000 degrees? Nothing. Sugar is dead.
Right.
White sugar is dead. Even the sugar bowl out on the table in the summertime, the ants don't want it. I mean, really, stop and think about that. The ants don't want it. There's no bugs in the sugar bowl. Nothing wants it.
Wow. Right? That should say something right there.
Isn't that amazing? We have this amazing brain. And a bug knows what's, not good for it. Okay, so these, a lot of white sugar in the diet. And, I don't know. I don't even pay attention to it anymore because, we don't do the white sugar thing and haven't for so long, but I don't know. What is it annually that your average American eats in sugar? I don't know.
Oh my goodness! I hear it's an astronomical number.
Well,
man.
it's like
it's in. It's
it used to be like 130 pounds of sugar a year. I can't even wrap my brain around that. I mean, that's sugar. That's let's pile it on. Let's put it in the artificially flavored and sweetened cereal and processed and
I mean, because did you see that?
Pop
on Facebook, they I haven't seen the pictures in a little while, but they show you how much sugar is in each stuff, in your sodas and your candy bars, and I mean that's just an astronomical amount of sugar.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're like, oh my goodness.
Well, what this does is, when you're eating all that sugar or other simple carbohydrates like, bread, bread, stripped wheat that is enriched with synthetic vitamins and minerals. We should be eating that stuff anyway because of the GMO stuff, but people will. And the thing is to know is that those simple carbohydrates, the white flour, the white sugar, those things, that high sugar amount, your adrenal glands are the little messengers that send the message over to the pancreas that says, release more insulin. Okay? If you're going to keep putting all this sugar into your mouth and run it through your digestive tract, This is where you eventually get into low blood sugar, and then 10, 20, 30 years of low blood sugar, you can start to go the opposite way and get into hyper insulin, or hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic. So your hyperglycemic is too much sugar is now staying in the bloodstream, and the pancreas is pretty worn out.
Wow.
It just can't release anymore. It's just not doing the trick with the insulin. So that's more, adult onset or diabetes type 2. And we're seeing a lot of, there's even children. Children are now being diagnosed with diabetes type 2.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's diet-induced. That's, yes, there's some genetics that play a part there. The insulin resistance, certainly, a predisposition for that from a metabolic standpoint, you don't process those carbohydrates as well as, say, somebody that, we all know somebody who eats whatever they want and a lot of it, and they don't ever gain any weight. They have a very efficient metabolism, which is excellent for them, and for the rest, sorry about your luck, that you didn't get a metabolic system, like that. But there are things that you have to take a look at seriously, and take a look at what you've been doing. And what you've been doing for a long time. And if your diet has been high in a lot of these simple carbohydrates, the refined sugar and white flour, that you can get into you can get into trouble. So you want to get that glucose out of the diet, get that sugar out of the diet, get the sugar out, get the white flour out. Get the protein levels up in the body, so that within 72 hours or so, you're kind of using up that excess of that excess storage of glucose that's in the body that's an overload. The only way to do that is to stop the refined carbs going into the body and stop all that. Pay more attention to more vegetables, more proteins, and that will burn up that excess so that the blood sugar comes into balance. Okay, so foods that are really good for the pancreas is foods that are really rich in zinc are very, very good, and chromium. So your seeds and your nuts, pumpkin seeds, certain grains, like amaranth, is not like the wheat. Green vegetables. Slippery elm. Again, slippery elm is mucilagenic. It's very healing. It's loaded with minerals and trace minerals. It's very nourishing to the body. Teas that are made from, dandelion tea and yarrow tea. Those are very, very good for the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder. So, onto the liver here, and the liver weighs about 3.5 pounds, and it's not only the largest gland in the body, but it's really the most miraculous. It does quite the diversity of life-sustaining functions, and it does over 500 functions that they know of.
Wow.
That goes on with the liver. So, the liver has 5 sets of hepatic vessels that carry products to and from the vital organ. Include the branches of the portal tube, which carries the blood from the stomach and the spleen, pancreas, and the intestine. It has the bile ducts that come from the gallbladder. It has the branches of the hepatic artery, and that's where the branch of the hepatic artery, when you do that high colonic coffee enema, to trigger the release of the dump of the toxins from the liver. It takes